The crystal chandelier above the dining table cast perfect light across the Harper family's Christmas Eve dinner. Everything gleamed. The china plates held no chips. The silverware reflected faces like mirrors. The turkey sat golden and untouched at the center, surrounded by dishes that could have graced a magazine cover. Violet Harper sat at the far end of the table, her fingers tight around her fork. Her mother's voice cut through the soft classical music playing from hidden speakers. Julia received another promotion, senior associate now, at 25. Margaret Harper's smile was all teeth as she looked at her eldest daughter. "We're so proud." Julia dabbed her mouth with a linen napkin, the diamond bracelet on her wrist catching light. "It's nothing, really. Just hard work." Hard work and talent. Nathan Harper raised his wine glass. His salt and pepper hair was perfectly styled, his suit jacket still on despite being in his own home. To Julia. Glasses clinked. Violet lifted hers, the movement automatic. Her hand trembled slightly. No one noticed. "Violet." Her mother's attention shifted like a spotlight. "Have you given any more thought to re-enrolling?" The question landed heavy. Violet set down her glass. "I've been looking into it, but I need to figure out the medical stuff first, and—" "Medical stuff?" Margaret's laugh was light, dismissive. "Sweetheart, you're 22. You're not dying." "I'm not saying I'm dying. I'm saying something's wrong." Violet's voice came out smaller than she intended. "The fatigue, the pain, everyone gets tired." Julia's tone was gentle, which somehow made it worse. "Maybe you just need to exercise more. I do yoga every morning before work. It really helps with energy." Violet's jaw tightened. She'd heard this before. Countless times. The invisible illness that everyone could see through. "Your sister manages a 60-hour work week." Nathan cut into his turkey with precise movements. "I think you can manage getting out of bed." The words hit like a slap. Violet felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I do get out of bed. I've been applying to jobs, Trying isn't doing." Her father didn't look up from his plate. "You've been home for 8 months now, living rent-free, eating our food, while your sister has her own apartment in the city." "I had an apartment." Violet's voice cracked slightly. "Before I had to drop out, before the medical bills." "The medical bills for tests that showed nothing." Margaret's perfectly manicured hand waved dismissively. 3 different doctors, Violet. They all said you're fine." "They said they couldn't find anything. That's different from fine." "Sounds the same to me." Violet's chest tightened. The familiar sensation of not being heard, of screaming into a void that swallowed every word. She took a breath, tried again. "I'm asking for help. I'm telling you something's wrong with my body, and I need—" "What you need is to stop feeling sorry for yourself." Margaret's voice sharpened. "Do you know how embarrassing it is when my friends ask about you? What am I supposed to say? That my youngest daughter dropped out of college and moved back home to sleep 14 hours a day? I don't sleep 14 hours by choice." Nathan finally looked at her. His eyes were cold. "Life is about discipline, Violet. Your sister understands that. Why don't you?" Violet opened her mouth to respond. The room tilted. It happened fast. One moment she was sitting upright, the next her vision blurred at the edges. The chandelier above became 2 chandeliers, then 3, all spinning slowly. Her fork clattered against her plate. "Violet?" Julia's voice sounded far away. The floor rushed up. No, she was falling toward it. Her chair scraped backward. Someone shouted. Her knees hit the hardwood, then her palms, and the impact jarred through her arms, but felt distant, like it was happening to someone else. "Oh, for heaven's sake." Her mother's voice cut through the fog. "Not this again." Violet's hands were cold. Everything was cold. She tried to push herself up, but her arms shook with the effort. Is she breathing? Julia's designer heels appeared in Violet's limited field of vision. Should we call someone? "She's fine. She's always fine." Margaret's voice dripped with exasperation. "This is what she does. When she doesn't like the conversation, suddenly she can't function." "Mom, she's on the floor." where she wants to be, getting attention. The words cut through even the fog in Violet's head. She managed to push herself to her hands and knees, breathing hard. The room still spun, but she forced herself to focus on the wood grain beneath her palms. I'm not. Her voice came out weak. I didn't. Enough. Nathan's shoes joined the others in her limited view. This is ridiculous. Julia, help her to the couch. Hands under her arms, lifting. Violet's legs felt like water, but she tried to support her own weight. Julia guided her to the living room couch, lowering her onto leather that was cold against her skin. Margaret stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Her Christmas sweater was cashmere, probably cost more than Violet's entire wardrobe. Every holiday, every single family gathering, something always has to make it about you. That's not fair. The words came out before Violet could stop them. I didn't choose this. I didn't ask to feel like this. No, you just refused to do anything about it. Her mother's voice was ice. Refused to push through. Refused to try harder. Your sister had mono in law school and still made Dean's List. But you let every little thing become a catastrophe. Violet stared at her mother, at the perfectly styled hair, the carefully applied makeup, the expression of profound disappointment. She looked at her father, standing silent beside his wife, at Julia, who wouldn't meet her eyes. Something inside her cracked. I'm trying, Violet whispered. I'm trying so hard. Not hard enough. Nathan's voice was final. Violet, I think it's time we had a serious conversation. The tone sent ice through her veins. Violet pushed herself more upright, ignoring the way the room still felt unsteady. Her father continued, Your mother and I have discussed this. We've been patient. We've given you space and time to figure things out. But 8 months is long enough. What are you saying? I'm saying you need to leave. The words hung in the air. The Christmas tree lights blinked in the corner. From the sound system, a choir sang about peace on earth. Leave? Violet's voice was hollow. Find your life out. Nathan's expression didn't change. Find a job. Find an apartment. Find whatever it is you think you're looking for. But you can't do it here anymore. We've enabled this behavior long enough. It's Christmas Eve, which is why we're giving you until tomorrow night. Margaret's voice was, Pack your things, make arrangements, we'll help you move, of course, but this dynamic isn't healthy for anyone. Violet looked at Julia. Her sister was studying the floor. Jules? Violet's voice cracked on the nickname. Julia finally met her eyes. Maybe they're right. Maybe you need some tough love to actually get your life together. The betrayal hit harder than the floor had. Violet stood. Her legs wavered, but held. I'll be out tonight. Tomorrow is fine, Margaret started. Tonight. Violet moved toward the stairs. Each step felt monumental, but she refused to show it. I'll pack now. I'll be gone in 30 minutes. No one tried to stop her. In her childhood bedroom, Violet pulled her old backpack from the closet. Her hands shook as she stuffed in clothes, toiletries, her laptop. The room looked the same as it had when she was 16. Her mother hadn't changed anything, but somehow it had never felt less like home. 28 minutes later, Violet stood in the foyer. Her backpack was heavy on her shoulders. Her phone showed 15% battery. Her family stood in the doorway to the dining room. The turkey was probably cold by now. When you're ready to apologize and commit to real change, you can call. Margaret's voice was calm, but not before. Violet nodded. She didn't trust her voice. She opened the front door. Cold air rushed in, carrying snowflakes. The Christmas lights on the neighbor's house blinked red and green. Violet stepped out into the night. The door closed behind her with a soft click. She stood on the porch for a moment, watching snow fall through the glow of streetlights. Her breath came out in white clouds. She had $63 in her checking account and nowhere to go. Violet pulled her cardigan tighter and walked down the steps. The snow was already sticking to the ground. 2 hours of walking had turned Violet's fingers numb inside her cardigan sleeves. The snow fell heavier now. transforming the downtown streets into something almost peaceful, almost beautiful, if she wasn't slowly freezing. Most storefronts were dark. Closed signs hung in windows decorated with silver bells and paper snowflakes. A few restaurants still glowed with warm light, filled with families finishing their Christmas Eve dinners. Violet didn't look too closely at those. Her phone had died 17 minutes ago. She'd watched the battery percentage drop with a strange detachment, like watching a countdown she couldn't stop. Now the black screen reflected her face when she pulled it out to check. Again, as if it might magically revive itself. Her sneakers were soaked through. Each step made a soft squelching sound that would have been funny under different circumstances. The cold had worked its way up from her toes to her ankles. Her jeans clung wet and heavy against her shins. The shaking had started about 20 minutes ago. Small tremors in her hands at first, easy to dismiss as just the cold. But now her whole body vibrated with it. The familiar weakness that had plagued her for months wrapped around her bones like ice. Not now, Violet thought. Please, not now. Her body didn't listen. It never did. The dizziness hit in a wave. Violet stopped walking, one hand reaching out to steady herself against a brick wall. The rough surface scraped against her palm. She focused on that sensation, using it to anchor herself to the present moment. Breathe. Just breathe. But breathing was getting harder. Each inhale felt shallow, insufficient. Her chest tightened like someone was slowly closing a fist around her lungs. A pharmacy sign glowed green half a block ahead. Still open, the only building on the street with lights on. Violet pushed off from the wall. Walking took concentration now. Left foot, right foot. Don't think about how heavy your legs feel. Don't think about the gray creeping into the edges of your vision. She made it to the pharmacy wall and leaned against the cold glass window. Her backpack felt like it was filled with stones. Inside, a bored cashier scrolled through her phone behind the counter. A small decorated tree sat next to the register, its lights blinking in a lazy pattern. Violet slid down to sit on the sidewalk. Just for a minute. Just to rest. The concrete was freezing against her body, but she couldn't muster the energy to care. Her head dropped back against the window with a soft thunk. Snow landed on her face and melted instantly, little pinpricks of cold that traced down her cheeks like tears. Maybe she was crying. Hard to tell anymore. The gray at the edges of her vision was spreading. The pharmacy lights looked softer now, further away. Her breathing had gone shallow and rapid without her noticing. This is bad, some distant part of her brain observed. This is really bad. She tried to stand. Her legs wouldn't cooperate. They felt disconnected from the rest of her, like someone had cut the strings on a marionette. The pharmacy door opened. The bell chimed bright and cheerful. Violet's head lolled to the side. She saw boots, black, practical. Then the legs of dark pants. Someone crouched in front of her, and the movement brought a face into view. A man, older than her, maybe mid-30s. Dark hair with silver threading through it at the temples. Sharp blue-gray eyes that were currently scanning her face with an intensity that should have been alarming. His lips moved. Sound came out, but it took Violet's brain a moment to process the words into meaning. "Can you hear me?" She tried to nod, managed something that might have looked like agreement. The man's hand came up, fingers pressing gently against her neck, taking her pulse. The touch was clinical, professional. "When did you last eat?" "Dinner." Her voice came out as a rasp. "Few hours ago." "Are you injured? Did someone hurt you?" "No, just..." The explanation felt too long, too complicated. Sick. His eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in assessment. He was looking at her the way her failed doctors had looked at test results, searching for patterns, for answers. "I'm a physician." His voice was calm, steady. "I need to check a few things. Is that all right?" Violet nodded. What choice did she have? He pulled a small flashlight from his pocket and shined it briefly in each of her eyes, checked her pulse again at her wrist this time. His hands were warm against her frozen skin. He asked questions in a low voice. Was she on any medications? Any known conditions? Had she hit her head? No, no, and no. His eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in assessment. He was looking at her the way her failed doctors had looked at test results, searching for patterns, for answers. "I'm a physician." His voice was calm, steady. "I need to check a few things. Is that all right?" Violet nodded. What choice did she have? He pulled a small flashlight from his pocket and shined it briefly in each of her eyes, checked her pulse again at her wrist this time. His hands were warm against her frozen skin. He asked questions in a low voice. Was she on any medications? Any known conditions? Had she hit her head? No, and no. His eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in assessment. He was looking at her the way her failed doctors had looked at test results, searching for patterns, for answers. "I'm a physician." His voice was calm, steady. "I need to check a few things. Is that all right?" Violet nodded. What choice did she have? He pulled a small flashlight from his pocket and shined it briefly in each of her eyes, checked her pulse again at her wrist this time. His hands were warm against her frozen skin. He asked questions in a low voice. Was she on any medications? Any known conditions? Had she hit her head? No, and no. His heart rate is elevated. Respirations are shallow. Extremities are cold. He said it quietly, almost to himself. Then louder. "You're hypothermic and in some kind of medical distress. Do you have somewhere to go? Someone I can call?" The laugh that escaped Violet's throat sounded wrong. No. Something shifted in his expression. He studied her face for a long moment. A fear turned a gentleman. "I'm Doctor." Oment. Violet felt exposed under that gaze, like he could see straight through to all her broken pieces. "All right," he made a decision. She could see it happen behind his eyes. "You're coming home with me." The words were so quiet she almost missed them. Violet's brain struggled to make sense of the sentence. What? "I can't leave you here." He was already moving, shifting her backpack off her shoulders. "You need medical attention and warmth. My house is 10 minutes away." I can't." Violet tried to form a coherent protest. "Stranger." "My name is Owen Fletcher. I'm an emergency room physician at Mercy General. I have my hospital ID in my wallet if you want to see it." He pulled it out, held it where she could see. The photo matched his face. Dr. Owen Fletcher, emergency medicine. "I'm not going to hurt you, but if you stay out here, you will hurt yourself. Do you understand?" Violet looked at the ID, at his face, at the empty street around them. She understood she didn't have options. "Okay," she whispered. Owen pocketed his wallet and reached for her. "I'm going to lift you now. Arms around my neck if you can manage it." She tried. Her arms felt like lead, but she managed to loop them weakly over his shoulders. He lifted her like she weighed nothing, one arm under her knees and one supporting her back. Her head fell against his shoulder because holding it up took too much effort. He smelled like coffee and something antiseptic, hospital soap maybe. "My car's right here." His voice rumbled through his chest against her ear. "Stay with me. Don't pass out yet." Yet, like it was inevitable. Violet heard a car door open, felt herself being lowered into a seat. Owen's hands were efficient as he buckled the seatbelt across her lap, reached across to adjust something. Warm air started blowing from the vents. He disappeared from view. The driver's door opened and he slid behind the wheel. The engine started with a quiet purr. "What's your name?" Owen pulled away from the curb. "Violet." Speaking took effort. "Violet Harper." "Violet. Good. Stay awake, Violet. Talk to me. Tell me about your symptoms." She tried. Words came in fragments. "Tired all the time. Pain everywhere. Doctors found nothing. Family thinks she's faking." Owen listened without interrupting. His hands were steady on the wheel. The heater blasted warm air that should have felt good, but instead made her shiver harder as her body tried to adjust to the temperature change. "How long have you been symptomatic?" 8 months, maybe longer. And the doctors ran what tests? Blood work, imaging, everything came back normal. Owen made a sound in his throat. Not quite agreement, not quite dismissal. Normal doesn't mean nothing's wrong. It means they haven't found it yet. The gray in Violet's vision was spreading. The dashboard lights blurred into streaks in green and blue. "I think," her voice sounded far away. "I think I'm going to—" "No." Owen's voice sharpened. "Eyes open, Violet. We're 3 minutes away. You can make it 3 minutes." She tried. focused on the windshield wipers, sweeping snow away in rhythmic arcs, on the white lines of the road, appearing and disappearing beneath them, on Owen's profile in the dim light, his jaw tight with concentration. 2 minutes. 1 minute. The car turned into a driveway. Victorian house, lights on downstairs. It looked warm, safe. The car stopped. Violet's eyes closed. Violet, Owen's hand on her shoulder, shaking gently. Stay with me. But the gray had won. It swallowed everything whole. Warmth pulled Violet back to consciousness. Not the aggressive heat of the car vents, but something gentler, softer. She became aware of textures before anything else. Something plush beneath her cheek, weight covering her body, the crackle and pop of burning wood. Her eyes opened slowly. A ceiling, cream-colored with bark wood beams crossing it. Not her ceiling, not her childhood bedroom ceiling either. Somewhere new. Violet's heart kicked into high gear. She sat up too fast, and the room tilted dangerously. A blanket fell from her shoulders. She was on a couch, a leather one that creaked under her movement. A fire burned in a stone fireplace across from her. The room was large, decorated in warm tones of burgundy and cream. This wasn't her house. Memory crashed back. The street, the pharmacy, the man. Violet's breath came faster. She threw the blanket off and tried to stand. Her legs shook but held. The backpack. Where was her backpack? You are awake. She spun toward the voice. Too fast. The dizziness returned and she grabbed the arm of the couch to steady herself. Owen stood in the doorway. He'd shed his winter coat and wore just dark jeans and a navy Henley now. His hands were visible, palms slightly raised. The universal gesture for non-threatening. Stay back. Violet's voice came out steadier than she felt. I need to leave. You passed out in my car 30 minutes ago. You're not leaving until we addressed what's happening with your body. His voice was calm, measured. Doctor voice. Your backpack is right there by the couch. Your shoes are by the fire, drying. Nothing's been touched. Violet glanced down. Her shoes were indeed missing. Her socks were still on, damp and cold against her feet. She looked where Owen indicated and saw her backpack propped against the couch leg. It looked undisturbed. You took my shoes. They were soaked. You'll get frostbite. Owen took a single step into the room and stopped when Violet tensed. I'm not going to hurt you, Violet. I know this situation is frightening. Strange man, strange house. But I'm a doctor and you're a patient in crisis. That's all this is. Doctors have offices. They do. Mine is at Mercy General Hospital. I can show you my credentials again if you'd like. I can also give you the phone number for the hospital to verify my employment. He moved slowly to an armchair across from the couch and sat, deliberately putting distance between them. Or you can call the police. Tell them exactly where you are. I'll wait right here while you do. Violet's mind raced. Her phone was dead, but he didn't know that. My phone died. Owen started to rise. No. The word came out sharp. Just stay there. He settled back into the chair, waited. Violet studied him, really looked. His face was angular, sharp cheekbones, and a strong jaw. The silver at his temples suggested stress rather than age. Tired lines around his eyes. He held himself still, patient, not the posture of someone planning violence. But her family had seemed safe too, until they weren't. Why did you bring me here? Violet asked. You could have called an ambulance. I could have. Owen's fingers drummed once against the arm of the chair, then stilled. But you said you had nowhere to go.
Ambulances take you to hospitals. Hospitals stabilize you and discharge you. To where? Back to that street corner? That's not your problem. No, it's not, he agreed easily. But I'm making it my problem. Call it a character flaw. Violet wrapped her arms around herself. The room was warm, but she felt cold from the inside out. I don't understand. You don't have to. Owen leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Here's what I know. You're young, you're sick, and you're alone on Christmas Eve. You have symptoms that have gone undiagnosed for months. Your family, based on what little you told me, thinks you're malingering, and you're about 3 steps away from a complete physical collapse. Does that about sum it up? Hearing it laid out so plainly made something crack in Violet's chest. She nodded, not trusting her voice. I've been an ER doctor for 12 years. I've seen a lot of undiagnosed conditions that present like yours: chronic fatigue, pain, episodes of weakness. His eyes were steady on hers. The fact that standard blood work came back normal doesn't mean nothing's wrong. It means whatever is wrong isn't simple. 3 doctors couldn't find it. Then you need a 4th, a specialist, someone who deals specifically with complex diagnostic cases. Owen stood slowly, telegraphing his movements. But first, you need to be stable, warm, fed, hydrated. You can't fight for answers when you're fighting to stay conscious. He moved to a side table and picked up a bottle of water, walked toward her with careful steps, and set it on the coffee table within her reach, then backed away again. Drink that. When you're ready, there's food in the kitchen. Nothing fancy. Soup, bread, easy on your system. Violet stared at the water bottle. Her throat was dry. She could feel the scrape of it when she swallowed. But accepting felt like surrender. What do you want from me? The question came out small. Owen's expression shifted. Something almost sad crossed his features. Nothing. I want nothing from you except for you to accept help. Nobody helps for free. Most people don't. He moved back to the armchair but didn't sit. I'm not most people. Violet wanted to argue, wanted to grab her bag and run, but her body was a traitor. Even standing here was taking effort. The fire was so warm. The couch had been so soft. Just tonight, she heard herself. I'll stay tonight. Then I'll figure something out. Tonight is a start. Owen nodded. The guest room is upstairs, second door on the right. Clean sheets, clean towels in the bathroom. Door has a lock on the inside, if that makes you more comfortable. A lock. He'd mentioned the lock specifically, trying to make her feel safe. Violet picked up the water bottle. Her hands shook as she twisted the cap. She drank, and the cold liquid was perfect. She finished half the bottle before lowering it. Owen watched her with those assessing eyes. When did you last eat? Dinner. Before... She couldn't finish the sentence. Before your family kicked you out on Christmas Eve. He said it matter-of-fact, no pity in his voice. Somehow that made it easier to hear. Come on, soup first, then sleep. He walked toward what she assumed was the kitchen. After a moment, Violet followed. Her feet were unsteady, but she kept her hand on the wall for balance. The kitchen was large, updated, but still maintaining old house charm. Wood cabinets, granite counters, a farmhouse sink. Owen moved around it with easy familiarity, pulling out a pot and ladling soup into a bowl. Violet slid into a chair at the small table. A photo caught her eye. On the mantel in the connected living area, Owen standing next to a woman with long dark hair and a bright smile. His arm around her waist, both of them laughing at something off camera. She looked away quickly. Owen set the bowl in front of her along with a spoon and more water. The soup was chicken noodle, simple and warm. Steam rose from it in lazy spirals. I'll be in the living room. Take your time. Wait. Violet spoke without thinking. You said, in the car, you said normal doesn't mean nothing's wrong. Owen turned back. It doesn't. My family thinks I'm lazy, dramatic, making it up for attention. What if they're right? What if there really is nothing wrong, and I'm just what? Weak? Broken? Owen's voice was firm. Violet, I've been doing this long enough to know the difference between someone malingering and someone genuinely suffering. You're not faking the tachycardia. You're not faking the hypothermia or the near syncope. Your body is telling you something's wrong. The fact that we haven't found the answer yet doesn't make the question invalid. Tears burned in Violet's eyes. She blinked them back hard. Eat. Owen's voice gentle. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow. He left her alone in the kitchen. Violet stared at the soup, picked up the spoon. The first bite was heaven, warm and salty and real. She ate slowly, methodically. Outside the window, snow continued to fall. Inside, the house was quiet, except for the occasional pop from the fireplace. A clock on the wall showed 11:53, 7 minutes until Christmas. Violet finished her soup and carried the bowl to the sink. Rinsed it. Her mother would have approved of that at least. She walked back through the living room. Owen sat in the armchair, a book open in his lap, but his eyes distant. He looked up when she entered. Guest room? Second door on the right, he reminded her. Violet? She paused at the base of the stairs. You're safe here, for tonight or for as long as you need. That's a promise. Violet didn't respond. Couldn't. She climbed the stairs with her backpack over one shoulder. The guest room was exactly as described. Clean, simple, comfortable. She found the lock on the door and turned it with a soft click. Then she collapsed onto the bed and let herself cry. Sunlight woke Violet. Real sunlight, golden and warm through curtains she didn't remember closing. She lay still for a moment, disoriented. The bed was too soft. The room was too quiet. The ceiling was the wrong color. Then memory returned in a rush. Christmas morning, in a stranger's house. Violet sat up slowly, testing her body. The bone-deep exhaustion from last night had faded to a manageable tiredness. Her head felt clearer. She could breathe without that tight band around her chest. Small mercies. The clock on the nightstand read 8:17. She'd slept for hours, solid, dreamless sleep that her body had desperately needed. The smell of coffee drifted under the door. And something else. Bacon, maybe. Her stomach responded with an audible growl. Violet stood and caught her reflection in the mirror above the dresser. Her auburn hair was a mess, her face creased with pillow marks. The freckles across her nose stood out stark against her pale skin. Kin. She looked exactly like what she was, lost. She used the attached bathroom, splashed water on her face, ran wet fingers through her hair. It didn't help much, but it was something. Her backpack yielded a cleaner shirt. The jeans would have to do. Violet unlocked the bedroom door. The click sounded loud in the quiet house. The hallway was bright with morning light. She could see more of the house now. Family photos lined the walls. Most featured Owen and the dark-haired woman from the kitchen photo, wedding pictures, vacation snapshots, candid moments of laughter and closeness. Past tense. All of it felt past tense. Violet made her way downstairs. Music played softly from somewhere. Not Christmas carols, but something jazzy and instrumental. The kitchen came into view and she stopped in the doorway. Owen stood at the stove, spatula in hand, completely absorbed in flipping what looked like pancakes. He'd changed into fresh clothes, dark jeans and a gray sweater with the sleeves pushed up to his elbows. His hair was slightly damp, like he'd showered recently. He looked different in the morning light, less like the intense doctor from last night and more like an actual person. Someone's neighbor, someone's friend, someone's husband, her brain supplied, thinking of the photos. Morning. Owen glanced over his shoulder. Coffee's fresh if you want some. Mugs are in the cabinet above the pot. Violet hesitated in the doorway. The domesticity of the scene felt surreal. You didn't have to make breakfast. I was making it anyway. He plated the pancakes and turned off the burner. Besides, you need to eat. Your body's been running on empty for too long. She moved into the kitchen, found the mugs where he'd indicated. They were mismatched. One had a hospital logo. Another said "World's Okayest Doctor" in faded letters. She reached for that one, then stopped. Her hand hovered over a plain blue mug instead. Safer choice. Owen noticed. The joke mug was a gift from a colleague. It's fair game. Violet took the blue one anyway, poured coffee and wrapped both hands around the warmth. The first sip was perfect, strong and black. Sugar and cream are on the table if you need them. Owen carried 2 plates to the small kitchen table. Pancakes, bacon, sliced strawberries arranged neatly on the side. It looked like something from a cooking magazine, nothing like the chaotic breakfast of her childhood. Her mother never cooked. Their meals had been catered or prepared by their housekeeper. Violet sat. Owen took the seat across from her. For a moment, they just ate in comfortable silence. The pancakes were fluffy and light. The bacon was perfectly crispy. "You're a good cook," Violet said finally. "I'm a functional cook. There's a difference." Owen's mouth quirked in something almost like a smile. "Pancakes are hard to mess up. It's just ratios and heat management. You'd be surprised what people can mess up." "Fair point." He took a sip of his coffee. "How are you feeling, honestly?" Violet considered the question, really thought about it. Better than last night. Still tired, but not the kind of tired that feels like drowning. Owen nodded like she'd said something profound. "That's a good description, the drowning kind versus the normal kind. My family doesn't see the difference." The words came out before she could stop them. Violet focused on cutting her pancakes into precise squares, anything to avoid Owen's eyes. "Tell me about your family." His voice was casual, but she could hear the doctor underneath. the one who gathered information and looked for patterns. Why? Because they kicked you out in the middle of winter with nowhere to go. I'm curious what kind of people do that. Violet set down her fork. The kind who think I'm faking. My mom's a real estate developer. Dad's in corporate finance. My sister Julia is a lawyer. They're all successful and driven, and I'm just the one who couldn't hack it. Couldn't hack what? Anything, everything. The frustration bled into her voice. I dropped out of college because I couldn't stay awake through classes, couldn't keep up with assignments. The fatigue was too much. But all they saw was me quitting, giving up. Owen ate a piece of bacon, chewing thoughtfully. What were you studying? Elementary education. I wanted to be a teacher. Violet's chest tightened. I was good at it too. During my practicum, the kids loved me. My supervisor said I had natural instincts. Then I got sick, and everything fell apart. That must have been devastating. The simple acknowledgement cracked something in her chest. No one's ever said that before. Everyone just tells me to try harder, push through. My sister had mono in law school and still made Dean's List, so why can't I just power through whatever this is? Because mono is acute. It has a timeline. What you're dealing with is chronic and undiagnosed. Comparing the two is like comparing a broken bone to nerve damage. Owen's voice was firm. One heals predictably, the other doesn't. Neither is the patient's fault. Violet blinked rapidly. She would not cry into her pancakes. Owen seemed to sense her emotional state. He changed subject smoothly. I have to work tonight, hospital shift, but I've been thinking about your situation. I'll be gone before you leave. I just need to figure out where. That's not what I meant, he interrupted gently. I have a proposition. Hear me out before you refuse. Violet's fingers tightened around her coffee mug. Owen continued. This house is too big for one person. I work 60-hour weeks minimum. The place gets dusty, mail piles up, the yard needs maintenance I don't have time for. I could use help around here. You want to hire me? I want to offer you a temporary arrangement. You stay here, help maintain the house, and in exchange, you get room and board while we figure out your medical situation. Violet stared at him. That's charity. It's practical. I genuinely need help. You genuinely need stability and medical care. This solves both problems. You don't know me. I could be a thief, a liar, anything. Could be. Owen met her eyes steadily. But I don't think you are. I think you're someone who's been dealt a rough hand and is trying to survive it with dignity. Am I wrong? She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him this was crazy, but the alternative was going back to that street corner, to nowhere. Why are you doing this? Violet's voice came out small. Owen's expression shifted. Something painful flickered across his features and was gone. Because someone should have done it for my wife. When she was sick and I was working all the time, and she needed help. But she was too proud to ask, and I was too blind to see. By the time I realized how bad it was too late. Violet's eyes moved to the photos on the walls, the dark-haired woman's smile. I'm sorry, she whispered.
Owen stood and carried his empty plate to the sink. That's why I'm offering, not charity, not pity, just one person with resources helping another person who needs them, the way the world should work but usually doesn't. Violet sat with the offer. It was insane. Accepting help from a stranger went against every self-preservation instinct she had, but those instincts had gotten her sleeping on frozen sidewalks. Maybe it was time to try something different. Just until I'm stable, she said finally, until we figure out what's wrong and I can work a real job. Agreed. Owen turned from the sink. First step is getting you properly diagnosed. I'm calling in some favors. There's a specialist at the hospital, Dr. Patterson. She handles complex cases. I'll get you an appointment. I don't have insurance or money. We'll figure it out. Patterson owes me. I covered her shifts for 3 months when her father was dying. He said it matter-of-factly, like calling in favors was normal. For now, rest, eat, let your body recover from last night. A sound from the living room made them both turn. Bells, Christmas music suddenly playing louder. Owen's jaw tightened. I should turn that off. I forgot I set it to... He stopped mid-sentence. I set it to play Christmas morning.
3 years ago. The past tense wife made sense now. You don't have to turn it off, Violet said quietly. It's Christmas. Owen looked at her. Something unreadable passed across his face. It is, isn't it? I keep forgetting. He moved to the living room. Violet followed. In the daylight, she could see more details. The Christmas tree in the corner was beautiful, but somehow incomplete. Ornaments clustered on some branches, while others remained bare. Garland draped halfway across the mantel, then stopped. A box of decorations sat open on the floor. Owen saw her looking. I started decorating this year. First time since Hannah died. Got about halfway through before I couldn't anymore. Hannah. A name for the woman in the photos. How long ago? Violet asked. 3 years. Christmas morning. Owen's voice was flat. Rare autoimmune condition. By the time we figured out what it was, her organs were shutting down. I'm a doctor, and I couldn't save my own wife. The pain in those words was palpable. Violet understood that kind of pain, the helpless kind. I'm sorry, she said again, because there was nothing else to say. Owen nodded, started to turn away, then stopped. Hannah would have liked you. She was always bringing home strays, wounded birds, lost cats, people who needed help. She had this way of seeing potential in broken things. I'm not broken. No. Owen looked at her directly. You're not. You're bent, maybe, struggling, but not broken. There's a difference. The words settled into Violet's chest like a warm stone. Outside, snow began to fall again. The Christmas music played softly. 2 people who'd lost their families stood in a living room full of half-finished hope. We could finish it, Violet heard herself say. The decorating, if you want. Owen studied her face. You don't have to. I know, but maybe we both need to finish something we started. A long pause. Then Owen nodded slowly. Okay, yeah, let's finish it. They worked in comfortable silence for nearly an hour. Violet hung ornaments on the bare branches, while Owen draped the remaining garland across the mantel. The box of decorations seemed bottomless. Each item carried weight. A hand-blown glass angel, a wooden snowflake with Fletcher 2019 painted on it, a small framed photo ornament of Owen and Hannah on a ski slope. Violet handled each piece carefully, like they might shatter. In a way, they already had. The doorbell rang just as Owen was untangling a strand of lights. He froze. The lights slipped from his fingers and pooled on the floor. I'm not expecting anyone. Do you want me to hide? Violet wasn't sure why she asked. Maybe because unexpected visitors felt dangerous after last night. No, you're a guest. You have every right to be here. Owen moved toward the door, then paused. Though this might be awkward. Why? The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. A child's voice called out, Uncle Owen, we know you're home. Owen's expression shifted to something between fondness and resignation. My sister. I forgot she mentioned stopping by. He looked at Violet. Fair warning, Carolyn is protective and doesn't have much of a filter. He opened the door before Violet could respond. A woman burst in carrying a casserole dish, followed by a man holding a toddler and a young boy who immediately ran past everyone into the house. The woman was shorter than Owen, but had the same sharp blue-gray eyes. Her dark hair was pulled back in a neat ponytail. She wore jeans and a green sweater with a reindeer on it. Merry Christmas! I made that green bean casserole you. She stopped mid-sentence when she spotted Violet standing near the half-decorated tree. Oh. The single syllable carried a world of questions. Owen closed the door. Carolyn, this is Violet. She's staying with me for a while. Violet, this is my sister Carolyn, her husband Pete, and those are their kids somewhere. Pete nodded politely. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with kind eyes and the patient expression of someone used to chaos. The toddler in his arms stared at Violet with wide eyes. Carolyn's gaze moved from Violet to Owen and back again. Her expression was carefully neutral. Staying with you. Yes, Owen's voice was firm. She needed help. I'm providing it. Can I talk to you? Kitchen? Carolyn thrust the casserole dish at Pete and grabbed Owen's arm. Now. They disappeared into the kitchen.
The door swung shut, but didn't quite close all the way. Voices carried through. Pete gave Violet an apologetic smile. "Sorry about this. Carolyn means well, but subtlety isn't her strong suit. It's fine." Violet shifted her weight, suddenly hyper-aware of her borrowed presence in this house. "I should probably go upstairs." "Don't. The kid in the living room is Tyler. He's 8 and obsessed with dinosaurs. He'll talk your ear off if you let him." Pete adjusted the toddler on his hip. "This is Emma. She's 2 and mostly just stares at people." As if on cue, Emma continued staring at Violet. From the kitchen, Carolyn's voice rose slightly. Not quite yelling, but close. "Owen, what are you thinking? You don't know this girl. She could be anyone." "She's someone who needed help." Owen's voice was lower, but carried steel underneath. "That's all that matters." "That's not all that matters, and you know it. You can't just bring home every person you find in trouble. This isn't healthy." "What's not healthy is leaving someone to freeze on a sidewalk." Violet's face burned. She moved toward the stairs. Pete caught her eye and shook his head slightly. "Stay," his expression said. Tyler emerged from the living room, holding a wooden train ornament. "Is this yours? It's cool. I like trains. Do you like trains? I have 43 trains at home. My favorite is the blue one, but the red one is also good." The words tumbled out in a rush. Violet found herself smiling despite the tension. "I like trains, the blue ones especially." "Me too," Tyler beamed. "What's your name?" "Violet." "That's a color and a flower. Are you named after the flower or the color?" "Both, I think." "Cool." Tyler set the ornament down carefully on the coffee table. "Are you Uncle Owen's girlfriend?" "No, just a friend." The word felt inadequate, but it was the only one she had. In the kitchen, Carolyn's voice had dropped, but the intensity remained. "I'm worried about you. Ever since Hannah died, you've been trying to save everyone. It's like you think if you help enough people, it'll make up for not being able to save her." Silence. Then Owen spoke, and his voice was raw in a way Violet hadn't heard before. "Maybe it will." "Owen," Carolyn's tone softened, "that's not how it works. You know that." "Do I? Because from where I'm standing, at least I'm doing something. At least one person isn't spending Christmas alone and scared." "One person you know nothing about." "I know enough. I know she's 22 and sick, and her family abandoned her. I know she reminds me of Hannah before we figured out what was wrong, when doctors kept dismissing her symptoms as stress or attention-seeking." His voice hardened. "I'm not making that mistake again." A longer silence. Violet wanted to disappear. This was too intimate, too painful. She was the catalyst for reopening wounds she hadn't known existed. Pete cleared his throat. "Tyler, why don't you show Violet your dinosaur book? It's in the car." "Okay." Tyler ran for the door. Pete looked at Violet with sympathy. Carolyn lost her husband 5 years ago. Different circumstances, but she understands grief. She's just scared Owen's going to get hurt again. "I don't want to cause problems." Violet's voice came out small. "You're not. Owen's been existing, not living, for 3 years. This is the first time I've seen him actually do something outside of work." Pete shifted Emma to his other hip. "That's scary for Carolyn. Change is scary." The kitchen door swung open. Carolyn emerged first, her jaw tight. Owen followed, his expression unreadable. Carolyn looked at Violet. Really looked. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but her voice was steady. "I'm sorry, that was rude. You're a guest in my brother's house, and I had no right to talk about you like you weren't a person." "It's okay, I understand. If I had a brother, I'd be protective too." Carolyn's expression softened fractionally. "Owen says you're sick, that doctors haven't figured it out yet." "That's right. That's hard. I'm sorry you're going through that." She paused. "And I'm sorry your family kicked you out on Christmas. That's unforgivable." The blunt acknowledgement hit Violet harder than expected. She nodded, not trusting her voice. Tyler burst back through the door, carrying a large picture book. "I found it! Do you want to see the T-Rex? It's the best page."
The tension broke. Carolyn moved to help Pete with Emma's coat. Owen caught Violet's eye and mouthed, "You okay?" Violet nodded. She was, surprisingly. They gathered in the living room. Tyler insisted Violet sit next to him while he detailed every dinosaur in the book. Emma eventually wandered over and climbed into Violet's lap without asking permission. She smelled like baby shampoo and graham crackers. Carolyn watched the interaction with thoughtful eyes. She pulled Owen aside while Pete tried to keep Tyler from climbing the Christmas tree. "She's good with kids," Carolyn said quietly. "She wanted to be a teacher before she got sick." "And you're sure about this, having her stay?" Owen looked at Violet. Emma had fallen asleep in her lap, and Tyler was showing her a picture of a stegosaurus with intense concentration. "I'm sure." Carolyn sighed. "Okay, but I'm checking in, regularly, and if anything seems off, you'll be the first person I call." "Damn right I will." Carolyn squeezed his arm. "Hannah would approve. You know that, right? She always said you had too much space in that big heart of yours and not enough people to share it with." Owen's throat worked. "Yeah, she did say that." They rejoined the group. Pete had given up on controlling Tyler and was instead helping him hang the train ornament on the tree. Violet sat very still, careful not to wake Emma. She looked completely natural with a sleeping toddler in her arms. Carolyn's phone buzzed. She checked it and grimaced. "We need to head out. Pete's parents are expecting us for lunch." Tyler groaned, "But I didn't finish showing Violet all the dinosaurs." "You can show her another time," Carolyn said. Then she looked at Violet. "If that's okay with you." "I'd like that," Violet meant it. They gathered coats and casserole dishes. Emma woke briefly when Pete lifted her, gave Violet a sleepy wave, then buried her face in her father's shoulder. Tyler made Violet promise to remember that stegosauruses had the smallest brain-to-body ratio of any dinosaur. At the door, Carolyn hugged Owen tightly. "I love you, even when I'm being overprotective." "I know, love you too." She turned to Violet, hesitated, then offered her hand. "It was nice to meet you, really." Violet shook it. "You too. Thank you for the casserole." "It's just green beans, but you're welcome." Carolyn's expression was sincere. "Take care of yourself, and of him. He's terrible at taking care of himself." Then they were gone. The house felt suddenly quiet. Owen closed the door and leaned against it. "Well, that happened. Your sister loves you a lot." "She does, sometimes too much." He pushed off from the door. "I'm sorry you had to hear all that, the conversation in the kitchen." "It's okay, she's not wrong to be worried." "Maybe, but it's my choice to make." Owen moved to the half-finished tree, picked up the stand of lights he'd dropped earlier. "Ready to finish this?" Violet's phone buzzed in her pocket. She'd plugged it in to charge earlier. The screen showed a text from Julia. "Mom wants you to apologize if you want to come back." Violet stared at the words, the casual cruelty of them, the assumption that she was the one who needed to bend. "Everything okay?" Owen asked. Violet looked up at him. At this man who'd brought her into his home, fed her, defended her to his sister, who saw her as a person worth helping instead of a problem to be managed. "Yeah," she slipped the phone back into her pocket without responding. "Everything's fine. Let's finish the tree." The tree looked complete by early afternoon. Lights wound through every branch, ornaments hung with careful spacing. The angel oath and had been avoiding sat at the top, her porcelain face serene. Owen stood back, hands in his pockets. "Hannah picked that angel, our first Christmas together. She said it looked like it was actually listening to prayers instead of just decorating." Violet studied the angel's face. There was something in the expression, a quality of attention. She was right. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Owen's phone buzzed. He checked it, and his expression shifted to something more professional, doctor mode. "I need to head to the hospital soon. Evening shift starts at 6, but I like to get there early." He pocketed the phone. "You'll be okay here? There's food in the fridge. TV remotes are in the drawer under the coffee table. All the doors lock from inside." "I'll be fine." Violet meant it. The house felt safe in a way nowhere had felt in months. Owen grabbed his keys from the hook by the door, shrugged into his winter coat. If you need anything, my number's on the pad by the kitchen phone, the hospital number too. Don't hesitate to call. I won't need to, but thank you. He paused at the door. Violet, what your sister texted about apologizing, you don't owe them that. You know that, right? Violet's chest tightened. I don't know what I know anymore. Then know this. You're not the problem. You never were. He said it with such certainty that she almost believed him. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Try to rest. Then he was gone. The door clicked shut, and Violet was alone. She stood in the quiet living room for a long moment. The Christmas tree lights blinked their slow pattern. The house settled around her with creaks and sighs. Outside, the winter sun was already setting, painting the snow orange and pink. Violet's phone buzzed again. Another text from Julia. Mom's serious. She wants an apology by tomorrow or she's cutting you off completely. As if there was anything left to cut off. Violet typed back before she could stop herself. Tell Mom I have nothing to apologize for. I didn't choose to be sick. She hit send. Her heart hammered. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Julia's response came through. You're making a mistake. Just swallow your pride and come home. Home. The word felt hollow. Violet's fingers moved across the screen. That house stopped being home when they made it clear I was only welcome if I pretended to be someone I'm not. Send. The response was immediate. Don't be dramatic. They're just trying to help you. Something hot flared in Violet's chest. Months of swallowed words rose up like bile. Help me? They called me lazy, attention-seeking, told me I was ruining Christmas by existing. That's not help, Julia. That's abuse. Her hands shook as she typed. She'd never said it out loud before, never let herself use that word, but seeing it on the screen made something click into place. The dots appeared and disappeared for a full minute. Then Julia's call came through. Violet almost didn't answer. Her thumb hovered over the decline button, but something made her accept. Hello? Violet. Julia's voice was strained. That's a really serious accusation. It's a really serious situation. Violet moved to the couch and sat. Her legs felt unsteady. I'm sick, Jules. Actually sick. Not lazy or dramatic or attention-seeking. Sick. And instead of helping me figure out what's wrong, they kicked me out in the snow on Christmas Eve. Silence on the other end. Then quietly. Where are you staying? With someone who actually gives a damn if I live or die. That's not fair. Mom and Dad care. Do they? Violet's voice rose. Because from where I'm sitting, they care about their image, about having the perfect family. And I don't fit that narrative anymore, so I'm disposable. You're not disposable. But Julia's voice wavered. Then why didn't you defend me? At dinner, when Mom said I was ruining Christmas, when Dad told me to leave, you just sat there. The silence stretched so long, Violet thought the call had dropped. Then Julia spoke, and her voice was thick. I don't know. I wanted to, but you were scared, Violet finished. Scared? If you defended me, you'd become the problem too. That's not... Julia stopped. Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's exactly it. The admission hung between them. Violet felt the fight drain out of her. I can't keep doing this, Jules. Apologizing for existing, for being imperfect. I'm tired. I know, I'm tired too. Julia's voice was barely audible. Mom called me 17 times yesterday because the Christmas photo she posted got fewer likes than last year's. 17 times about a photo. Meanwhile, you were somewhere I didn't even know, and I couldn't stop thinking about that, about where you were, if you were safe. But you didn't call me. I was afraid of Mom getting mad, of causing a scene, of Julia's breath hitched, of admitting that you're right about all of it. Violet closed her eyes. This was the most honest conversation they'd had in years, maybe ever. "I miss my sister," Violet said quietly. "The one who used to sneak me cookies when I was grounded, who taught me how to parallel park, before you became Mom's perfect prototype. I miss that version of me too." Julia was definitely crying now. "I don't know who I am anymore. Everything's about the next promotion, the next achievement, the next thing to make Mom proud. And I'm so tired, Vi. I'm so damn tired." "Then stop. Just stop. It's not that simple." "It is exactly that simple. It's terrifying and hard, but it's simple." Violet opened her eyes. "I'm staying with a doctor who found me passed out on a sidewalk, a complete stranger who showed me more compassion in one night than our family has shown in 8 months. That's how low the bar is. And I'm choosing that over going back to people who make me feel like I'm wrong for existing." Julia was quiet for a long time. Then, "Are you safe with this doctor?" "Yeah, I am. He's a good person. His sister came by today. She was skeptical too, but she saw that he's just trying to help." Okay, good." Julia took a shaky breath. "I need to go. Mom and Dad are asking where I am." "But Violet?" "Yeah?" "I'm glad you're safe, and I'm sorry. For all of it. For not being the sister you deserved." "You can still be that sister. It's not too late." "Maybe." Julia didn't sound convinced. "I'll think about what you said, about all of it. That's all I'm asking." They ended the call. Violet sat in the growing darkness, phone in her lap. The conversation hadn't fixed anything. Julia was still choosing their parents, still trapped in the cycle. But something had shifted. A door had cracked open. The house was fully dark now, except for the Christmas tree lights. Violet should turn on a lamp, make dinner, do something productive. Instead, she sat in the gentle glow and let herself feel everything she'd been holding back. The grief of losing love. Seeing her family. The relief of finding safety. The terror of not knowing what came next. Her phone buzzed one more time. Julia's text was short. "Take care of yourself. Really." Then another message. "And for what it's worth, you're not the one who should apologize. You never were." Violet stared at the words until they blurred. It wasn't enough. It didn't fix the damage or erase the pain. But it was something. She typed back, "Happy New Year, Jules. I hope you find a way out too." No response came. Violet hadn't expected one. She finally stood and turned on lights, found leftover soup in the fridge and heated it on the stove, ate standing at the counter while snow began to fall again outside the window. The house was quiet but not lonely. Owen's presence lingered in the small things. The coffee mug left in the sink, the medical journal on the counter, the photo of Hannah still face up on the mantel. Violet washed her bowl and wandered back to the living room. A bookshelf lined one wall, filled with medical texts and novels and photo albums. She pulled out an album at random and settled on the couch. The first page showed Owen and Hannah on their wedding day, both young, maybe late 20s. Hannah wore a simple white dress and held wildflowers. Owen's smile was uninhibited, full of joy Violet hadn't seen on his face yet. She flipped through slowly. Their story unfolded in snapshots. Vacations and holidays, a new house. Hannah in a hospital bed, Owen holding her hand, both trying to smile. The later photos showed the strain. Hannah's face thinner, Owen's eyes tired. The last photo was from a Christmas, 3 years ago, based on what Owen had said. Hannah sat in this same living room, wrapped in blankets, the tree behind her. She looked fragile, but her smile was genuine. Owen sat beside her, arm around her shoulders, his face pressed to her hair. Violet closed the album carefully, put it back exactly where she'd found it. She understood now why Owen had stopped decorating, why his sister was worried, why he'd brought home a stranger from a frozen sidewalk. He was trying to rewrite the ending, give someone the help Hannah hadn't gotten in time. Violet wasn't sure how she felt about that, about being someone's redemption project. But then again, Owen had never treated her like a project. He'd treated her like a person, with dignity and respect and basic human decency. Maybe that was enough. The grandfather clock in the hallway chimed 9. Violet was suddenly exhausted. The emotional weight of the day settled into her bones. She climbed the stairs to the guest room, changed into pajamas, plugged in her phone. The last text from Julia stared back at her. "You're not the one who should apologize." Violet turned off the phone and climbed into bed. Outside, the snow continued its quiet fall. Inside, the house held her safe. She slept without nightmares for the first time in months. Violet woke to her phone ringing. The room was still dark. The clock on the nightstand glowed 3:47 in red numbers. She fumbled for the phone, heart pounding. Unknown number. Her finger hovered over decline, then something made her answer. "Hello?" Violet Harper, a woman's voice, crisp, professional. "Yes?" "This is Margaret Harper, your mother." Violet sat up fully. Her mother never called. She texted, she emailed, but phone calls were reserved for emergencies or public performances. "It's almost 4 in the morning." Violet's voice came out rough with sleep. "I'm aware of the time. We need to talk about your behavior yesterday." "My behavior?" The absurdity of it cut through the sleep fog. "You kicked me out and you're calling about my behavior?" "I'm calling because your sister told me what you said, that we're abusive." "That's a very serious accusation, Violet. One that could damage this family's reputation if you go around saying things like that." There it was. Not concern for Violet, concern for reputation. "I'm not going around saying anything. Julia asked and I told her the truth." "Your truth, your perception." Margaret's voice hardened. "You've always been dramatic, taking normal parenting and twisting it into something ugly." Violet's hand tightened around the phone. "Normal parents don't abandon their sick children on Christmas Eve." "We didn't abandon you. We gave you consequences for your choices. There's a difference." "What choices? Being sick? Needing help? Refusing to help yourself? Wallowing in victimhood? Using illness as an excuse to avoid responsibility?" Margaret's voice rose slightly, professional veneer cracking. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing this is? My daughter living with some strange man she met on the street. What do you think people will say?" "I think people will say you failed as a mother if they know the truth." Silence. Then Margaret's voice dropped to something cold and controlled. "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact. You can dress it up however you want, but the truth is, you chose your image over your daughter. That's on you, not me." "You ungrateful little..." Margaret caught herself, breathed. When she spoke again, her voice was ice. "Fine. If that's how you want to play this, you have until tomorrow evening to come home and apologize, to me, to your father, to your sister, for the things you said. If you don't, you're out of the will, out of the family, permanently." "I'm already out of the family. You made that clear." "This is your last chance, Violet. Don't throw away your entire future because you're too stubborn to admit you're wrong." Something in Violet's chest solidified, a core of steel she hadn't known she possessed. "I'm not wrong, and I'm not coming back. Not now, not ever. Not unless you're willing to actually see me as a person instead of a problem." "Then you've made your choice." Margaret's voice was final. "Don't come crying back when you realize what you've lost." "The only thing I've lost is people who never really loved me. I think I'll survive." Violet ended the call before her mother could respond. Her hands shook. Adrenaline flooded her system, making her heart race and her breath come fast. She'd done it, actually done it, cut the cord. The phone rang again immediately, Margaret calling back. Violet declined it, blocked the number, then blocked her father's number too. Julia she left unblocked, just in case. The shaking intensified. Violet wrapped her arms around herself, but it didn't help. This was more than adrenaline. Her body was responding the way it always did to stress. Rapid heartbeat, shallow breathing, the familiar weakness creeping into her limbs. Not now. Please not now. But her body didn't care about timing. The room tilted slightly. Violet lay back down, trying to breathe through it. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. The technique one of her failed doctors had taught her. It wasn't working. Her chest felt tight, her vision gray, peaked at the edges. The front door opened downstairs. Owen was home. Violet tried to call out, but her voice wouldn't cooperate. She heard his footsteps on the stairs, The bathroom door closing, water running. She needed to get his attention, needed help. Her hand found her phone. She pulled up his number with shaking fingers and pressed call. Downstairs, a phone rang. The water shut off. Footsteps moved quickly. Owen appeared in her doorway, still in his scrubs, phone to his ear. He took one look at her and crossed the room in 3 strides. "Violet, look at me." His voice was calm but commanding. Doctor voice. "What happened?" "Can't breathe. Everything's—" The words came out in gasps. Owen's fingers found her pulse. His other hand pulled a small flashlight from his pocket, checking her pupils. Panic attack or physical episode? "Don't know. Both, maybe." Her chest was so tight. "My mom called. We fought. Then this started." "Okay, that's helpful information." Owen pocketed the flashlight and sat on the edge of the bed. "I need you to breathe with me. Can you do that?" Violet nodded. "In through your nose," Owen demonstrated, his breathing slow and exaggerated. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Out through your mouth. 2, 3, 4. Violet tried to match him, failed, tried again. "Good, again. You're doing fine." His voice was steady, anchoring. In, hold, out. They breathed together for several minutes. Slowly, incrementally, the tightness in her chest eased. Her vision cleared. The shaking subsided to manageable tremors. "Better?" Owen asked. "Yeah, better." Violet's voice was rough. "Sorry for calling you at 4 in the morning. Don't apologize, that's what I'm here for." He shifted slightly, but didn't leave the bed. "You want to talk about what happened with your mother?" Violet told him. The ultimatum, the threats, the final choice she'd made. Owen listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke carefully. "That took courage, standing up to her. It took stupidity. I just cut myself off from my entire family. From people who were hurting you. That's not stupid, that's self-preservation. Easy for you to say. You're not the one who just became an orphan by choice." Owen's expression shifted. Something painful flickered across his features. "No, but I understand loss, and I understand that sometimes the people who should protect us are the ones causing the most damage." Violet studied his face. "Hannah's family? Didn't approve of me. Thought she could do better than a resident working 100-hour weeks. When she got sick, they blamed me. Said I'd stressed her into illness." His jaw tightened. "They didn't come to the funeral, haven't spoken to me since. That's horrible." "It is, but it's also freeing. I don't have to perform for people who never really saw me." He met her eyes. "Same as you don't have to perform for your family anymore. You get to just be." The words settled into Violet's chest. Permission she hadn't known she needed. "I'm scared," she admitted quietly, "of what comes next, of being completely alone." "You're not alone. You have me. You have Carolyn, whether she's ready to admit it or not. You have options and time and space to figure out who you are without their voices in your head. And if I can't figure it out, if I'm just as lost without them, then we figure it out together, one step at a time." Owen stood. "Speaking of which, I called in that favor with Dr. Patterson. She can see you next week, Tuesday at 2. Relief flooded through Violet. "Really?" "Really. She's one of the best diagnostic specialists in the state. If anyone can figure out what's going on with you, it's her." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Get some sleep. We'll talk more in the morning." "Owen?" Violet's voice stopped him. "Thank you. For everything. For seeing me when no one else would." His expression softened. "You're easy to see, Violet. You just needed someone willing to look." He left, closing the door softly behind him. Violet lay in the darkness. Her phone sat silent on the nightstand. No more calls from her mother. No more demands or ultimatums. Just quiet. It should have felt lonely. Instead, it felt like breathing room. She pulled the blankets up and closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she would process everything. Tomorrow, she would figure out next steps. Tonight, she would just rest in the knowledge that she'd chosen herself. Finally. Sleep came easier this time. No nightmares, no anxious spirals, just darkness and peace. When she woke again, sunlight streamed through the window. The clock showed 9:30. She'd slept for hours. Violet stretched and felt the difference immediately. The bone-deep exhaustion was less pronounced. Her body felt lighter. Not healthy, not yet, but less burdened. She showered and dressed, made her way downstairs. Owen was in the kitchen, making coffee, still in pajama pants and a faded medical school t-shirt. He looked younger like this, less like the intense doctor, and more like a regular person. "Morning," he said without turning around. "There's bagels if you want one." "Thanks." Violet grabbed a bagel and the cream cheese. They worked in comfortable silence. Owen poured 2 mugs of coffee. They sat at the table. "I've been thinking," Owen said after a few minutes, "about your situation. Long term." Violet's stomach clenched. "If this is about me leaving, it's about you staying, if you want to." He cupped his hands around his mug. "The offer I made stands. Help around the house in exchange for room and board. But I'd like to formalize it, make it official, so you feel secure." "Official how?" "A contract. Nothing legal or binding, just an agreement between us. Expectations on both sides, so you know this isn't charity, and I'm not going to change my mind on a whim." The tension in Violet's shoulders eased. "I'd like that. The security of knowing the rules. Good. We can work on it today. Figure out what makes sense." Owen took a sip of coffee. "Also, I want you to consider something. Once we get you diagnosed and treated, once you're stable, have you thought about going back to school? I can't afford. There are programs, grants, options we can explore." He held up a hand. "I'm not saying now. I'm saying eventually. You wanted to be a teacher. That doesn't have to be dead just because you got sick." Violet felt tears prick her eyes. "No one's ever said that before. That my dreams don't have to be over. They're not over. They're just delayed. There's a difference." They sat in the morning light, drinking coffee and eating bagels. Outside, neighbors were taking down Christmas decorations. Life moving forward. Violet's phone buzzed. A text from Julia. "Happy New Year, Vi. I'm thinking about what you said, about finding a way out. I don't know if I can do it, but I'm thinking about it."
Small hope. Not a solution, but something. Violet showed Owen the message. He read it and nodded. "That's a start?" "Yeah, it is." 1 week slipped into the next with surprising ease. Violet fell into a rhythm at Owen's house. She woke with the sunrise, made coffee, tidied the spaces Owen's long shifts left neglected. It wasn't work in the exhausting sense. It was purposeful movement, contributing instead of taking. The contract they'd written sat on the kitchen counter, signed by both. Simple terms. She'd maintain the house, handle groceries and basic cooking, keep things running. He'd provide room, board, and help securing medical care. Either could end the arrangement with 2 weeks' notice. No hard feelings. The formality of it helped. Violet knew where she stood, what was expected, what she was earning rather than accepting as charity. Tuesday arrived cold and clear. Owen had arranged to take the afternoon off, something Carolyn mentioned he never did. They drove to the hospital together, Owen's car warm despite the freezing temperature outside. "Dr. Patterson can be intense," Owen said as they pulled into the parking garage. "She doesn't sugarcoat, but she's brilliant. If there's an answer, she'll find it." Violet's hands twisted in her lap. What if there isn't an answer? What if I really am just... "Don't," Owen's voice was firm. "We've been through this. Your symptoms are real. The answer exists. We just haven't found it yet." They made their way through the hospital corridors. Owen moved with easy familiarity, nodding to colleagues, navigating the maze of hallways without hesitation. Violet felt the eyes on them, curious glances, whispered questions. Dr. Patterson's office was tucked in a corner of the diagnostic wing. The nameplate read, "Dr. Rachel Patterson, Internal Medicine Specialist." Owen knocked once and opened the door. The woman behind the desk looked up. She was maybe 50, with steel gray hair pulled into a neat bun and sharp brown eyes behind frameless glasses. Her expression was all business. "Fletcher, you're late." By 3 minutes, Owen closed the door behind them. "Rachel, this is Violet Harper. Violet, Dr. Rachel Patterson." Rachel stood and offered her hand. Her grip was firm, assessing. "Sit, both of you. Let's not waste time." They sat. Rachel pulled out a tablet and stylus. "Owen gave me your preliminary information. 22, symptomatic for approximately 8 months. Standard workup showed nothing remarkable. Tell me about your symptoms. Start from the beginning."
Violet had told this story before to 3 different doctors who'd ultimately dismissed her. But Rachel listened differently. She took notes, asked specific questions, interrupted with clarifications that she was actually tracking the narrative. The fatigue. Describe it more specifically. Rachel's stylus moved across the tablet. Is it improved with rest or constant regardless? Constant, mostly. Some days are worse than others, but rest doesn't really help. I can sleep 12 hours and wake up feeling like I haven't slept at all. Pain. You mentioned joint pain and muscle aches, symmetrical or asymmetrical. Both hands, both knees, sometimes my shoulders. It moves around. Fever. Low grade sometimes, nothing dramatic. Rachel asked about digestion, skin changes, headaches, cognitive function. 20 minutes of detailed questions that made Violet feel like someone was finally taking her seriously. All right, Rachel set down the tablet. Based on what you're describing, I have 3 possible directions. Could be autoimmune, could be endocrine, could be both. We need comprehensive blood work. I'm talking full panel. Autoimmune markers, thyroid function, inflammatory markers, vitamin levels, everything. I don't have insurance, Violet said quietly, or money for Fletcher's covering it. Rachel waved away the concern. He made that very clear when he called in this favor. Besides, I owe him. He covered my shifts for 3 months when my father was dying. This is a small repayment. Violet looked at Owen. He was staring at the wall, jaw tight, uncomfortable with the acknowledgement. Rachel continued, I'm also ordering imaging, MRI of your brain and spine, ultrasound of your thyroid. We're being thorough. If something's there, we'll find it. And if nothing shows up, Violet asked, then we keep looking. I don't give up easily. Rachel's expression was fierce. I've seen too many women dismissed as anxious or dramatic when they had legitimate conditions. That's not happening on my watch. Relief flooded through Violet so strongly it was almost painful. Thank you. Thank me when we have answers. Rachel stood. Let's get you to the lab. The sooner we draw blood, the sooner we have results. The next hour was a blur of needles and forms and tests. Owen stayed close, a quiet presence. He didn't hover, but he was there. Steady. When they finally left the hospital, the sun was setting. Violet felt drained, but hopeful. An unfamiliar combination. That went well, Owen said as they drove home. Rachel doesn't take cases she doesn't think she can solve. She's intimidating. She's effective. There's a difference. Owen merged onto the highway. Results should be back in a few days, then we'll know more. They drove in comfortable silence. Violet watched the winter landscape past, bare trees and snow-covered fields. The world felt different than it had a week ago, larger, full of possibility. Owen, she spoke without looking at him. Why are you really doing this? And don't say because you couldn't help Hannah. That's part of it, but it's not all of it. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, because no one should have to face illness alone, because the system is broken and people fall through cracks, and someone needs to catch them, because I have resources and space and time, and using them to help feels like the only thing that makes sense anymore. That's a lot of responsibility to put on yourself. Maybe, but I'm a doctor. Responsibility comes with the territory. He glanced at her briefly. Besides, you're easy to help. You're grateful without being obsequious, independent without being stubborn about accepting support. You respect boundaries. That's rare. I'm still a stranger you picked up off a sidewalk. Not anymore. Now you're someone who makes sure there's coffee ready when I get home from night shifts, who reorganized my spice cabinet in alphabetical order, who sat with my niece and nephew without complaint and made Carolyn actually like you, which is nearly impossible. Violet smiled despite herself. Tyler sent me a text, did you know that? He got his mom to give me my number, sent me a picture of his dinosaur collection. He's obsessed. Fair warning, you're now his favorite person. He'll want you at every family gathering. I don't mind, he's a sweet kid. They pulled into Owen's driveway. The house looked warm and welcoming, with lights glowing in the windows. Home, Violet's brain supplied. It felt like home. Inside, Owen heated up leftover casserole while Violet set the table. They'd fallen into this routine easily. Shared meals, comfortable conversation, mutual respect for each other's space. I've been thinking, Violet said as they ate, about after we figure out what's wrong and get it treated, about what comes next. And I want to finish my degree. Not right away, but eventually. You were right. My dreams don't have to be dead just because I got sick. Owen's expression brightened. That's good, really good. We can research programs, figure out what makes sense. I'll need to work, save money. I can't ask you to. You're not asking, I'm offering. Stay as long as you need. Get healthy, get educated, get on your feet. Then, when you're ready, you move forward. That could be years. I have years. The house isn't going anywhere, neither am I. They finished dinner in companionable silence. Violet washed dishes while Owen reviewed medical journals at the table. The Christmas tree still stood in the living room, lights blinking their steady pattern. 3 days later, Owen called from the hospital. Violet answered on the second ring. We have results. His voice was controlled, but she could hear the excitement underneath. Rachel wants to see you tomorrow. Can you come in? Yes, what did they find? She'll explain everything tomorrow. But Violet, there's an answer, an actual diagnosis. The relief was so intense, Violet had to sit down. Really? Really. 2 o'clock tomorrow. I'll drive you. That night, Violet barely slept. Her mind raced through possibilities. What if it was something terrible? What if it was treatable? What if? The next afternoon, they sat in Rachel's office again. This time, Rachel's expression was satisfied, triumphant even. Hashimoto's thyroiditis with secondary fibromyalgia. Rachel turned her tablet to show them results highlighted in yellow. Your thyroid antibodies are significantly elevated. TSH is borderline, but given your symptoms and antibody levels, clear diagnosis. The fibromyalgia explains the widespread pain and fatigue that goes beyond typical thyroid symptoms. So it's real. Violet's voice came out small. It's actually real. Very real, very treatable. You'll need thyroid hormone replacement. We'll start low and adjust based on how you respond. For the fibromyalgia, we'll try a combination approach. Medication, physical therapy, lifestyle modifications. It won't cure everything overnight, but we can significantly improve your quality of life. Tears streamed down Violet's face. She didn't try to stop them. I'm not crazy. I'm not lazy. It's real. It's real, Rachel's voice was firm. And every doctor who dismissed you should be ashamed. This wasn't hard to find. They just didn't look. Owen's hand found Violet's shoulder, squeezed gently. They left with prescriptions and referrals and a follow-up appointment. In the car, Violet cried harder. Not sad tears, but release. Years of being gaslit and dismissed and told she was the problem finally vindicated. I wish I could tell my mother, she said when the tears slowed. Prove to her I wasn't making it up. You don't need to prove anything to her. You know the truth. That's enough. Is it? It has to be. They drove home in the winter twilight. The medication would take weeks to show full effect. The road to feeling better would be long, but there was a road now, a path forward. A week later, New Year's Eve arrived. Violet had been on medication for 5 days, too soon for major changes, but she swore she felt different, lighter maybe, or just hopeful. Owen had the night off, rare for him. They made dinner together, nothing fancy, pasta and salad, garlic bread that filled the house with warm smells. Carolyn invited us to her place, Owen said as they ate. Big party, lots of people. We could go if you want. Do you want to? He considered. Not really. Crowds aren't my thing, but I'll go if you want the experience. Violet thought about it. A party full of strangers, loud noise and forced cheer, or quiet evening here with someone who'd become a friend. I'd rather stay here, if that's okay. Relief crossed Owen's features. More than okay. I was hoping you'd say that. They cleaned up dinner and migrated to the living room. The television played a New Year's special with the sound low. Outside, neighbors set off early fireworks that crackled and popped. I never thanked you properly, Violet said as midnight approached. For stopping, that night. You could have kept walking. But I didn't. Owen's voice was quiet. And I'm glad. This past week, having someone else in the house, it's been good. Better than I expected. Good different? Good different. He smiled slightly. Hannah used to say this house was too big for 2 people, let alone 1. That it needed to be full of life and noise and people who needed shelter. I think she'd approve of you being here. I hope so. The television showed Times Square, a ball beginning its descent. They watched in comfortable silence. 10 seconds, the announcer shouted. Owen and Violet counted down together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fireworks exploded outside. Neighbors cheered. A new year beginning. Happy New Year, Violet. Happy New Year, Owen. Her phone buzzed, a text from Julia. Happy New Year. I'm thinking about what you said. I'm still thinking. Violet showed Owen the message. He read it and nodded. Progress, slow but real. Yeah. They stayed up another hour, talking about nothing important. Plans for the house, Tyler's upcoming birthday, the book Owen was reading. Easy conversation between two people finding comfort in shared space. When Violet finally climbed the stairs to bed, she paused at her door, looked back at Owen settling on the couch with his book. This man who'd saved her life, not through grand gestures, but through consistent, quiet compassion. Owen? He looked up. Thank you. For seeing me, for believing me, for giving me space to figure out who I am without all the noise. His expression softened. You saved me too. You know that, right? This house was a mausoleum. You made it a home again. Violet smiled, went to her room, climbed into bed with a peace she hadn't felt in years. Her phone buzzed one more time. Julia again. I told Mom I'm taking a break, moving to my own place. She's furious. I'm terrified, but I'm doing it. Thank you for showing me it's possible. Violet read the message 3 times, then typed back. I'm proud of you. It gets easier, I promise. She set the phone aside and closed her eyes. Outside, distant fireworks continued their celebration. Inside, 2 broken people were slowly healing. Not fixed, not whole yet, but better. And better was enough.